Turner, call their names. Denmark Vesey and Richard Wright, call their names. Coretta Scott and Betty Shabazz, call their names. Call their lessons, call their principles, call their teachings, call their history, call their names, and they'll come.
Amen. Amen.
Thank you. So this is a day for calling the names of our ancestors, even as you sit there and you participate all through today, and we need to remember this as we leave. We are now ready for our jazz vocalist, Lucy Smith, and we know jazz is our music, and we don't want our blues and our music to be taken and gone. So we want to welcome Lucy Smith now, our jazz vocalist.
Actually, we're going to start with what her vocals do start our story out. Okay. We're about to read to you the story of the Old African. The Old African is a book written by Julius Lester and illustrated by Jerry Pickney. This book, written not too long ago, was controversial at a time because it was written for young people tweens between 13 and up. But the critics say that it's too harsh. It might be a little too much for them. But the answer to that was, how? How can we put a beautiful face on slavery? How? And if you ever saw a book or a picture with the slave in it, and it was smiling, it was forced there. It was forced there by the master to make them believe that he treated them with respect and dignity. Now I'm gonna take like 30 minutes of your time, our whole story. I want you to sit back. Now, maybe a little graphic for some people, but how? The only way you can tell the story of slavery is to tell the truth. Now, even though this is a fictional book, it tells a true depiction of what it was to be a slave. So without further ado, we bring to you the story of the Old African.
Deep river, my home is over Jordan. Deep river, Lord, I want to cross over into campground. Take on. Deep river, my home is over Jordan. Deep river, Lord, I want to cross over into campground. Oh, don't you want to go to that God? the Lord. I want you to cross over into campground.
The boy's hands were tied so that they hugged the trunk of the large oak tree. His face pressed against it as if it was the bosom of the mother he had never known. His back glistened with blood. Whack! The whip cut into his flesh again, but he did not scream or even whimper. Master Riley had ordered his 20 slaves to gather around and see what happened to someone who dared run away. And like a black crescent moon, they stood in a semicircle around the tree. And in the center was the old African, his face expressionless as tree bark. Now, the slaves did not see the blood on the boy's back, nor did they hear the flies droning around his gaping wounds. They were staring at a picture of water. Water as cool as a lullaby. Now, they did not know how the old African was able to make them see water as blue as freedom, but he did it often. Anytime there was pain amongst them, be it childbirth or whipping, the old African would take their mind and make them into one mind that saw and felt the same thing. They could feel him taking their pictures of the water's cool wetness and putting them in the mind of the boy to stop the burning heat of his pain. That was why he didn't scream and cry, though blood lay thick on his back. You have the power. That was what the old African's father told him when he was a boy, before he was taken across the river that stretched forever and brought here. When he was a boy, his name was Jaja, God's gift. But no one in the village or Master Riley knew his name, for he had never spoken a word. They say he was born old, but not if you counted birthdays. Now, Obasi was the elder from back home who taught the old African how to change into an eagle, a crocodile, a snake, a tree, a flower, or a stone. But more difficult was learning how to catch the tears of another before they fell, or how to hold the hurting in a heart so that it won't break, or how to keep the living alive as well as the dead. Whack, whack, whack. The boy had started to cry now. He started to feel the pain, and the old African had started to feel the pain also. He felt pain as high and as stony as mountains. The old African had not known such pain since the journey across the water that stretched forever. If Master Riley did not stop soon, this boy would surely die. Then, as if by some miracle, as if Master Riley had heard something, he suddenly stopped. He handed his whip to one of the slaves and told him to clean it. Clean it good. This is my best whip. Master Riley stood with his hands on his hip and told the slaves that I ought to kill him, but I won't. But he assured each and every one of them, if anyone else had dared run away, he would surely beat them to death. Master Riley ordered the slaves to keep the boy tied up overnight. He said he wanted him to feel the mosquitoes sucking on his wounds. And he wanted the other slaves to hear the cries of the boy in their sleep. The old African, he felt the boy's heart beat faint and slow, for it was about to stop. Then, without hesitation, the old African rushed to the tree along with another slave and cut the boy down as he slumped unconsciously into the arms of the other slave. The old African put his right hand over the boy's heart and pressed down firmly. Immediately, he felt the warmth flowing from his heart through his arm and into the boy's heart. And then, after a moment, the boy's heart began beating with a stronger and more steady rhythm. Master Riley then pulled out his gun and shouted to the old African, "What are you doing?" The elder Obasi had taught the old African how to look at a man and cover his mind so that he would forget what he was about to do. Master Riley tried to pull the gun up to shoot the old African, but his arms were too heavy